talk a little bit more on sequencing, all right? I talk about this in a lot of other trainings, and I want to spend a little bit of time to go in further depth of why it's so important. Generally, I learned this from Dave Savigny, all right? He's probably, I just think, one of the best shooters to ever walk the planet, right? But instead of finishing each thing to its entirety before you start the next thing, overlap those actions is the basic notion of sequencing, all right? So if I'm just going to shoot this guy right here, this target, and I'm not even going to move yet. Let's talk about in the second one, all right? The second thing. So I'm going to, draw my pistol, all right? Then I get my support hand on. Now, the sequencing here is I start prepping, I'm going to turn the take-up laser on. So I start prepping the trigger, all right, prior to full extension. I start pulling my focus back if it's a hard shot. So to make this clear and easy, how about I shoot one of those little knots on the mantle there, okay? So I'm going to pull that focus back, and then I'm going to break that shot. Now I have these guys co-witnessed right now. A lot of times I would not. Had a spot trainer on here before, so I'll just go ahead, put my hex wrench, and you can see I'll just have them not co-witness, just so I don't use that lower red laser as a sighting aid, not for the purpose of this drill. But it does give me the general indication of the alignment of the pistol. So here we go. What I'm going to do is, so just essentially what I'm doing in sequencing, I'm prepping the trigger before breaking the shot, all right, extending. And I'm also pulling my focus back before I do full presentation, all right? So I'm sequencing those things. So I'm prepping, I'm pulling focus back, and I cook off the shot. There's no dwell time. The poor way to sequence, so to speak, is you extend out, then you put your finger on the trigger, then you prep, then I pull my focus back, then I pull the trigger. Now I'm talking it, so it's obviously going to be slower because I'm verbalizing those steps, but you can appreciate that those don't have to be mutually exclusive steps. They can overlap at the bookends. An important concept. A next layer on sequencing is decelerating the body and presenting when moving to a position. This is something that is not, it is my opinion, just taking a survey across the whole world, I guess, of pistol training shooting. We do not talk about decelerating in position and cooking enough rounds as much as we should. We do too much static lane, just shooting, no movement, no anything, where we honestly really have to train the skills to decelerate the body and cook off rounds. Let me put this in context. It's really basic. So let me just demo it, and then I will talk it through. So if I just run into position, I'm not running very far right here, but I can run, all right, and then cook off that round, okay? So let me talk that through a little bit, and I'll just talk it right here. So as I move, what am I doing while I'm moving? Well, I'm obviously clearing the garment, all right? One deficiency is people stop, and then they get in their draw stroke, right? Obviously. Just do both those things at the same time, right? That's not rocket surgery. So as I run to this position, all right, and the gun is out, all right, I stabilize my hips while I'm presenting, and I cook off that round. Now this requires, I'm going to take off the take-up indicator for this purpose right now. You can probably appreciate I will be prepping the trigger on all of these. Here's a problem I see with a lot of shooters, and this is a very common deficiency. As they're running to position, they'll run, get fully stabilized, and then present out, and then even if they're doing the other part well, as far as prepping and all that, they are getting way too stable before presenting the pistol out. You don't need to. As you run to the position, have the gun up, establish the grip, stabilize, present, boom. Your hips are going to be slightly unperfectly stable, all right? That's okay. Now, final point on this, it's highly contextual, how stable you need to be. Let's just use these natural targets right here, all right, the mantle, as our acceptable accuracy zone. So we have one, not a small target, but it's relatively large, this mantle. And then let's have that eye right there, okay? So we have a small target, more difficult, can represent, say, a headshot at a further distance, all right? Particularly, say, like a headshot for instant decapacitation when it's a sudden high intensity threat, like someone's shooting a shotgun that direction, all right? And you gotta just neutralize it quickly, okay? As one context out of what, thousands. The other one is going to be a bigger acceptable accuracy zone where you just gotta get rounds on quick. For whatever the context, plurality of context. Looks like this, it looks like this. As I come in right here, I don't have to be very stable to get that shot. I was a little bit off to the left, which fits in my who cares bucket, because anything within that area is a good hit. So I can be a little bit more, I don't want to even say reckless, but I can have an appreciation that my hips don't need to be completely stable to extend out. It's not a trigger mechanic issue, it's not a presentation issue, it's a flat out platform issue. But it's not even an issue because it's good enough, all right? So now let's stabilize into the more difficult target. Here, I'm not gonna slow down, all right? Time's not an input, time's just an output. But I am going to have more stability before I finally present out, all right? So it looks like this. I run into position, I stabilize a little more, and I also do a little bit of an exhale. I just found I do that, and I cook off that round. What can happen is if you do the same sense of urgency with the first target, that sight you extend out, and it's just wobbling around, frustratingly so. So if I extend out too early and I try to, you know what, I didn't even exaggerate that. It actually naturally happened. There's a natural dampening when you extend the pistol out, okay? It's kind of like when a ballerina, not a ballerina, but ice skater is spinning around and, they pull in tight, they have a tighter moment of inertia, they spin faster. When they extend out, obviously it slows down. The matter is getting further away from the center of gravity. Well, as you present out, there's a tendency to smooth out those shakes, all right? So you want to take advantage of that and smooth out those shakes when they're minimized and your hips are sufficiently stable, all right, to make that shot. So the final question or issue on this is like, well when do I do either both? How do I know how stable I have to be and what have you? Well, that's honestly, that's pretty obvious. Just train it. All right, you'll figure that out. That's your journey. All right, I would suggest setting some targets like right here. I do have my targets, and they happen to be with the fluorescent tape, but I can run into position here and just cook off rounds from around the house within this acceptable accuracy zone. All right, that's all good. And then I can also do it from up here, boom, and I have to get a little bit more stable to get what, in this case, what represents more of an upper T-zone headshot, something of smaller size requiring more precision. All right, that's a little bit more, not more verbose. I know that's a little bit more in depth than some of these. I think the final takeaway, if I just have to boil this down, is essentially run to positions, decelerate, and self-evaluate, but push yourself to it, all right? Do a small target, do a big target, and get your own sense of how you decelerate at given distances. And then that's kind of your baseline. Do it unwarmed up so you know what you're like when you're not warmed up. All right, it's good knowledge to have. And then keep pushing it. Essentially just keep pushing those distances back so you are more accurate at further distances and you have a better self-awareness of how much stability you need given the nature of the target. That's beautiful. Amazing. It's right here. Okay, here, try, here, Chase. Here. Come over here. Okay. Here we go. Here. Good catch. That was almost a good catch. So you got to get those hands tighter, Chase. Come around it. Okay, I got one more and I'm done. Testing. I want to do another open holster drill. All right, so why am I doing this? I'm done all my little short videos I wanted to slate out, but it's fun, okay? And so the main point of this tutorial, this drill, whatever you want to call this, is make your training fun, all right? So I just did a ton of drills. I did it static there, but honestly I move around a lot. Did a lot of compromise shooting drills where I just like kind of come down and, do a high angle shot, things like that. All good stuff. But here, shoot man, I'm kind of sick of that, right? So let's just have some fun with the training, all right? So what can be very fun for me to train, to make it more sustainable, is to go open holster. I see some people get so wrapped around the axle that everything has to be so practical and all this that they take the fun out of the training. And I'll tell you, I've had the privilege and honor to interface, so I'd say with some high-end extremely competent professional shooters, all right, just on the uppermost levels of the spectrum there. And a lot of the drills, a lot of the things, there's a funness factor. There's obviously a heavy degree of seriousness, but you know, it's kind of like that old adage, if you do something out of fear, you're gonna do just baseline. If you do something out of, sounds cheesy, but out of love, you're gonna throttle it, you're gonna do it. So you gotta love it, you know, you gotta love this, you gotta have passion behind this. And to make it sustainable, you know, do stuff you like. So I'm just kind of jabbing while I get set up, but you get an appreciation how quick I can set up, particularly with this, you know, Velcro holster and such, right? So I do have some extra magazines here. I'll just pop one out of our LE model cert, you know, and it's right now, I'm just gonna do that open holster work, right? Just come out, you know, boom, boom, boom. Gonna hit a reload, boom, boom. That was awesome. Okay, let's have another one here. Let's do a 180 degree training. So I got 180 degrees between these two targets, okay? So I'm just gonna come out, you know, boom, boom, boom. I'm gonna hit a reload, in fact, and boom, boom, boom. All right, that's awesome. You don't get to do 180 degree training very often. Now let me just do it without a reload. And again, this is just totally, the message here isn't do this drill. The message here is be creative on your training. Utilize, if you can do 180, then do it, you know. Boom, okay, something like that. Let's just go back the other direction. You know, a lot of times too, I'd have a little bit more motion and dynamicism, you know, running around, but you know, the cameras are kind of locking me down, right? Taking away my sense of spaciousness. I also love hitting these reloads while I do it. If you saw my other tutorial, I'm gonna do it with an empty mag for a few reps and then do a drop in a mag. So I'll just kind of start over here. Heck, I'll just shoot that camera. Whew. Ah, I missed it. Let me do that again. Let me shoot that camera. And I reload. Ah, I missed it. Let me do it again. Ah, you can see like this, my communication here is training like this is fun. It's enjoyable. It is an end in itself, okay? And when you hit that plane, it just takes over, all right? We're no longer in control, not just of our skills and our subconscious competence. We're not in control of just what we love, you know, what we like, all right? And the more success you get at that, then it kind of feeds on itself, of course. And the more training you get, that's why, of course, the cert is awesome. And if you're watching this, you probably already have a cert, so I'm not, you know, obviously not trying to get you to buy a cert, you know, but you'll appreciate that there's just a lot of fundamental enjoyment to being very competent with this pistol. And do not be afraid to explore a little bit and expand your training to those things which make it just more enjoyable, just right there, right in the moment when you're hitting your training drills.